So this week's weekly update in GTA Online is another really good one for the car fans. So what we're going to do in this video, we'll be lapping and reviewing the Fista Comet SR, but we'll also take a bit of a dive into what I mean when I talk about balance. So it's a fair bit to get through, so let's crack on. So this is a deleted car and it's available to buy this week from the LS car meet. It's reasonably priced, and I would say of all the cars from this week, if you can only buy one, make it this one. This is one of my absolute favourite cars in the game. I don't use it enough, and since I pulled it out to do this video, I've used nothing but this in any missions, and we'll go over why. So this car has some of the best balance in the game. And I know I talk about balance a lot, so I thought I'd go through that a little bit with you. If you look at how the cars work in GTA Online, you've effectively got three components. You've got grip, you've got handling, and you've got power. So if you have a car that has lots of power but no grip and no handling, you'll end up with something like the Vamos or the Nebula. If you've got something that has good handling but no grip and no power, then you'll have something like the AC Classic. You can have cars that are good in a couple of areas, so if you've got something that's got power and grip but very poor handling, that's when you end up with a car like the Cyclone 2 or the Stinger TT. So the sweet spot for all of these is right here in the middle. This is the point where the amount of grip, the level of power, and the way the car handles are all really well suited. And what that means is no matter how fast the car goes, you end up with cars that are really fun to drive, really responsive, and just some of the best cars in the game. We're talking about things like the Krieger, the Locust, the new Omelette, whatever it's called. And this also sits in that sweet spot right in the middle, where the amount of power, which is not necessarily a huge amount, some of the cars in the middle like the Locust don't have a huge amount of power, but that they have really suits the amount of grip the car has and the way it handles. So that's why this is one of my favourite cars in the game. It's just so much fun to drive, it's so responsive, and it's also incredibly quick. The good handling means it's easy to get through traffic. It also has a decent top speed. So all in all, it's a brilliant free mode car. If I had any criticisms of this car, it would be that the customization isn't brilliant. It's certainly not the best. There is enough. You can make it look quite nice. And I guess my only other criticism is the way it looks, because this is supposed to be based on the Porsche 911, and I look more like a Porsche 911 than this thing does. And that is quite interesting, because this week you can actually get the Comet S2 Cabriolet and claim it from the salvage yard robberies. That's also based on a 911, and that is almost a spitting image. So it's strange that within the same car we've got one of the worst replicas in the game and one of the best. But they're not huge criticisms, so yeah, not a massive fan of how it looks and not a huge amount of customization, but what a car. It's you have to buy this car. And off we go with the test of the top speed, which I'm expecting to be quite reasonable. It's certainly not going to be one of the highest in there, but it does seem to have a respectable turn of speed. So for anyone that's new to the channel, this is a measured mile that I drive as quickly as possible. Then I do a bit of simple maths, and that gives us a really accurate, achievable top speed that you can hit through traffic. And as we go under this sign here, that's the finish line. And this is what we managed to do. And final thoughts and review. Well, I've made my thoughts pretty clear, to be honest. This is actually the second lap I did in this one, because I have to admit, the first lap
I was a little drunk.
So yeah, don't drink and drive, kids, because that lap was 30 seconds slower than the one this one's just turned in. So yes, my view, I think if you're only buying one car this week, I would make it this one. Yes, it's not the best looking, but you know what, it's okay. If you spend your time with it, you can make it look okay. But in terms of handling and how much fun this thing is to drive, this is up there with the best cars in the game. And I can see that the lap time is going to be a really decent effort, considering this is not a HSW car. I think this is going to be mixing it with some of the HSW cars when I get over the finish line just around this corner. And there we go, an 851 for a non-HSW car that's relatively cheap to buy. If that doesn't convince you, nothing will. And a lot of this lap time comes from the handling, from the fact that you hit every corner perfectly, you can get through the traffic perfectly. A lap just comes together so easily in this car because it's so well sorted. So here are the lap times, and I hope you found that useful, and I will see you all in the next one.